You know, I just sent a message to one of my mentees, a young lady, and after sending that message, I said, "Okay, I'm going to convert this message to a podcast." Exactly what I told her, because I think it's very important for people to listen into what I'm about to say. And what I'm going to say is going to be very helpful to somebody in the creative industry, especially if you're a designer, because that was my line of work, active line of work when I was younger, in my 20s. And I want to talk to the young designers right now. So if you're in your 20s, early 30s, I want you to listen up. If you're in your teens, if there's someone out there privileged enough to find out that they love to design in their teens, I want you to listen to this too. And I really wish I had somebody to tell me this when I was coming up as a designer. You see, I put up a job I had done recently, a personal brand project or personal branding project I had done for a friend of mine. I put it up on my WhatsApp, and I also put it up on my Instagram page. I have an Instagram page called TA Logo King. For those of you that are designers, you want to get inspiration, you want to see some of my work in my days, my active days as a designer, you can follow that page. It's called TA Logo King. And so I share some of my old work, and I was sharing some recent work there too. And when I shared this work on WhatsApp, one of my mentees reached out to me, and she said something I was very impressed by. I was very impressed by her honesty, and I was very impressed by her keen observation. And she said, "Sir, I realized that um, in recent years, a lot of your logos have had, because the logo I shared had a star. The logo I just did had a star. Said a lot of your logos have a star there. You understand? Like you concentrate a lot on stars in your, in your logos in the past, in the recent years, you've been doing a lot of star-based logos." And she wanted to know why. Why is this? And when she sent me that message, I was like, "Oh, this is really perceptive of her, because it's the truth. It was the truth." And she was the only one that said that. And I was very impressed by her keen observation. And I said, if someone is so honest with me, I owe them honesty too. So I sent her a message. I said, "Yes, you are right. And it's because when it comes to design, I have become old and lazy." And I knew this would throw her off. I knew that she didn't expect me to say that. I knew she expected me to say something more academic, something more intentional. But I told her that the truth of the matter, why you see this star repeated, is because I've become, as in when it comes to design, I've become old and lazy. But I put lazy in quotation marks. I said old and lazy. And then, she got back to me and she said, "No, sir, I don't think it's laziness. I just think it means you've mastered it and stuff like that. Because even when you use it, it still looks very creative." And I said, "Yes, I appreciate what you're saying. But the reality is the fact that I've gotten old when it comes to design and lazy." But you see, lazy is not a bad word. I've come to that place where I realize lazy is an indicative word. It's a word that shows self awareness. And I've become aware of myself, that I now know that I shouldn't put as much energy into some things like I used to. So now I'm more about energy conservation than I am about doing groundbreaking work. And you see, I need to put this out there because when I started doing design when I was 24 years old. Actively, my first design was done when I was 24 years old. This year, I'll be 45 years old. And so I have been doing design for over 20 years. 20 years. But I've gotten less active in the last 3 to 4 years. I'm saying this for that person that is still in their day of design, the early days, and you're thinking, this is as good as it gets. You're right. You might be in a place where it's as good as it gets. But you need to understand that things will not be the same when you do design as a 44-year-old and when you do it as a 24-year-old. You wouldn't be the same person. You wouldn't be the same person doing it as a 34-year-old and a 44-year-old. As you reach your mid to late 30s and your early 40s, things would change. But I see a lot of people, when they reach this stage, they think something has broken. They think something is wrong. And a lot of them become sad and start to think, I just don't, this thing, I'm not sure if it's for me anymore. I'm not sure. I remember when I was this age and I could do design for 15 hours in a day, 20 hours a day. Now I can't even do it for 5 hours. And then they think there's something wrong with them. They think they are damaged. No, you're not damaged. It's just normal. We all become old and lazy. But these two words are not bad words. Old is not a bad word. Old means you've become experienced and you see better. Lazy means you've become aware of what to apply pressure on and to give yourself to, and once what to give light touch to. It takes a self-aware person to say they are lazy. If anybody cannot tell you, oh man, I'm lazy when it comes to this kind of thing, that person is not self-aware. We are all lazy towards something. We are not honest with ourselves. So with design, I've become more self-aware. I've become lazy and I've become old. I've seen it and I know, and I'm going to say something right here, that a lot of things we spend time on are not as important as we make them out to be. What I mean is that I am now more about energy conservation than I am about doing incredible, groundbreaking new stuff. I'm more about energy conservation than I am about originality. Now, I'm not saying originality is a bad thing. Originality is a great thing. But originality takes a lot of energy. It takes a lot of energy. And a lot of people don't understand that the creative industry, if you are doing creative work, it can be the most energy demanding work. Creative work is energy demanding. We don't understand it. A lot of people look at creatives and they think that your work is very soft work. It's not demanding a lot of energy because we confuse it for lazy work. We think because somebody sits in a particular place clicking at a computer for hours, we think they've not done much. Like, how tired can you be from doing that? Because it is sedentary, we think it is easy. That is a big misconception. Creative work is highly energy demanding. If anybody, and it doesn't have to be design, any work you are doing where you have to create something, especially create something that never existed before, something that is new, something from nothing, starting with an empty canvas, to imagine something in your head and to create it. If you are doing that kind of work, you might be sitting down in one place, but at the end of the day, you feel like somebody that has worked on a construction site, carrying cement about 50 times up and down a story building. There's no difference in the amount of tiredness you feel. In fact, you might feel more drained than the laborer. But a lot of times, a lot of us confuse muscle demanding job with energy demanding job, intellectually energy demanding jobs, energy demanding jobs that take your intellectual resources, have a way of draining you out. They have a way of taking all your attention. Taking all your attention. That's why if you meet people that are really into design, they can design for hours without eating. They can design for hours without sleeping. You realize that a lot of them, their design career stops them from building good relationships with people outside. A lot of them, it affects their romantic relationships because it has a way, creative work, when you're a creative, it has a way of trying to own you. Creative work is a it's a very demanding job. It wants to own you at the expense of every other thing around you. That's why I advise people, if I don't do creative work, do it early on. I'm very grateful to God that God has given me the grace. God gave me the grace to start design when I was 24. In fact, I wish I started when I was like 16. That's why with my children that are not even in their teens yet, the ones that I see that have a tendency to want to lean towards the design aspect of work, I allow them start. I give them the room to start and to put themselves into it. Because the earlier you start, the better. Because it demands energy. And the young person has less things to use their energy for than the older person. And I know what I'm saying when I say this. So I'm not saying this to condescend young people. I'm not condescending anyone. I'm just saying start in design before you have commitments of relationship, marriage, children, grandchildren. No. Those things will take some of your mental bandwidth. And as your life grows in that area, when you start having a family and children, you will start thinking of energy conservation rather than originality. When I was in my 20s, I was thinking about originality. I was thinking about doing groundbreaking work. So if I was to do a logo for two people and I had to use a star in that logo, I would design two different stars because they couldn't be the same. I will drain myself to see how I can create a unique star every single time. Because then I was about excelling as a designer. It was about excelling as a designer. I wanted to be the best designer. I wanted to win awards. I wanted the companies to win awards for their identity. Those things were important to me. But as I grew older and started to build a life, and when I mean build a life, I mean get married, have my kids, my first kid, second kid, third kid, I realized other things were demanding of my energy and my attention. So here I was with a career in creative industry, like I said, wanted all of me. If you are doing anything creative, whether you're in fashion, photography, look, those careers want everything. They want your attention, product design. They want everything. They want you to focus on them. Every single thing. I started to realize that these things were stopping me from building other relationships that were dear to me. They were infringing on my relationship with my wife, infringing on my time with my children, infringing on my time with my communities, my mentees, and things like that. And then I realized it is time to start thinking of how to conserve energy and give up this life of trying to be a superstar. I'm not saying trying to be a superstar is a bad thing, but I'm saying there's a phase of your life to be a superstar. When you're young, little romantic attachment, no commitments, no offsprings, no this. You're all, it's just you in your life, just you. By all means, go ahead, break ground, do things in new ways, drain yourself on that one thing, win awards. Because the time is coming when those things will not be as important as when they were when you were younger. Life will demand more of you. And at that point, it might be beautiful to create two stars that are totally different, but it might be more effective for you as a human being to use the same star in a creative way, where people can look at it and they do not immediately see the same star unless they put them together and like, whoa, that's true. I never noticed that. You must conserve your energy. And I'm saying this because everyone will come to that age. It's a sad thing to see somebody who should be old and lazy trying to be young and active. What happens is what should now be inspirational and admirable, a young person committed to their work, winning awards, now becomes an old person winning awards but not having a life, not having a family, not having loved ones, not pouring into other people, not mentoring, still competing, I, not leaving it for the younger ones. It's a different feeling altogether. The other day there was a reel I was watching on Instagram, and it was a guy playing table tennis, and he had won against his Chinese opponent. Now he was a Nigerian guy, but he won against his Chinese opponent. I'm not sure how old this video was, but then it was an older Nigerian guy playing against a young Chinese guy, and he won this Chinese guy at ping pong. So he had done well. But when I read the comments, a lot of people were coming hard on this Nigerian guy and say, I'm surprised this guy is still playing. Why is he still playing? This guy is 40 something. This Chinese boy is playing against is like 19. I'm not impressed by the fact that a 40 something year old beat a 19-year-old. I thought this guy would have been doing more with his life. I read the comments and there were so many of them. And I said, it's a different feel when you have a 19-year-old Nigerian put his all into playing ping pong or table tennis, then beating a 19-year-old Chinese person, an Asian person. People would have clapped. But here we were, somebody who should be old and lazy towards tennis or ping pong was still doing it like a 20-something-year-old, and it's only brought insults instead of commendation. Energy conservation, very important. And so I've gotten to this point in my life where it isn't wise for me to spend 20 hours on a logo anymore. I need to try to spend 2 to 5 hours on a logo. 5 hours maximum. Because my energy must go to other things that require my attention, that require for me to pour into. My energy must go into other things. So we must know that energy conservation is a very important thing. When you start getting to your late 30s, don't fight energy conservation. Don't try to be a superstar. Don't try to say, I will do it this way. I would take my time to create unique work. You don't need to create unique work. You need to create functional stuff. If it is functional, it's good enough. You don't need to be seeking social validation anymore. You need to be so zeroed in on doing something that suffices. You must be you must be okay with it suffices rather than it is award winning. You must be okay with it suffices rather than it superb. When I work right now and I don't do that much logo work anymore, I can do one in 3 months, one in 6 months. And I choose my clients very carefully. But then I'm not under the illusion that I'm trying to do anything for designers to be in awe of my work anymore. I'm actually trying to help companies get started with their business. I'm not doing it for myself anymore to say I'm the baddest guy. I must win awards. The logo must be featured on a logo design blog. I wanted those things in my early 20s, early 30s. But now those things are not as important as giving a logo to a business so that they can start doing business and have a decent identity. So it takes me 2 to 5 hours to create a decent identity. It takes me about 48 hours concentrated work to do a superb identity. But what does that 48 hours come? What's the cost of doing work 48 hours, of investing 48 hours on a job for it to be superb? The cost is time with my children. The cost is time with my wife. The cost is time to go on my evening strolls to reflect and to let God inspire me and drop a message in my heart. The cost is time to do this podcast. All those things, a lot of them did not exist actively when I was 24. But they exist now. And I must conserve energy for them. These things are not albatrosses. They are not albatrosses. They are gifts. So someone might say, that means, then let me not marry. Let me not have children. Let me not have all these things that will take my attention. No. Then you are resisting the gifts. These are gifts. They are jars for you to pour yourself into. You must never resist them. You must conserve energy for them. Very important. If you do not understand this, you will become depressed in your late 30s, early 40s. You will think there's something wrong with your life. You will think you've become lazy as a detrimental word. You think you become old as a disadvantage. You wouldn't see it as a phase. You wouldn't see old as experienced enough to know what's important and lazy as energy conservation. Then you become sad. I want to give this example, and same example I gave my mentee. I said, this is what we see in football. Football. I used to be a football fan. I don't watch football that much anymore. And I used to follow a club called Manchester United. They still have a special place in my heart, no matter how much I invested too many years watching it. But then I don't actively watch their matches anymore. But I wish them well, and I want them to do well. But then, I followed Manchester United for years. Early Manchester United, not the recent Manchester United. The Roy Keane, the Sebastian Verons, the David Beckhams. There's a guy, Eric Cantona. The very early Manchester United. I knew every single player. I followed them. Their very early days, they were a brilliant team. They were a beauty to watch. But that's not where I'm going. You see, In the 2000s, the early 2000s, there was a young teenager that got signed to Manchester United from, I think, Sporting Lisbon. His name was Ronaldo. But then that was a very confusing thing because at that time there was another Ronaldo who was Brazilian who was at the height. So I felt bad for this guy. Why should you have a name of a superstar? Now you are now the other Ronaldo. So they used to call him Cristiano Ronaldo. That other guy was Ronaldo. You understand? So nobody felt any excitement about Cristiano Ronaldo. I wasn't so excited about him joining. And I really didn't like him when he joined Manchester United. I didn't like him. And most Manchester United supporters didn't like Ronaldo in his early days. He was a young boy, pimple-faced. He had pimples all over his face then. Very young teenager. Dentition wasn't so good. You understand? He wasn't half as attractive as he is right now. I knew when he joined Manchester United. When he joined Manchester United, he was a very ambitious teenager. And I hated to see him play. Whenever they put him on, I didn't like seeing him play because he was someone that liked to impress himself and other people. He would have the ball and he would try to do tricks with the ball. And most of the time, he would lose the ball. He would lose the ball and not score. So I was frustrated with him that why is this guy doing this? This guy just likes to just show some stunts. But he was a young guy. For him, football was about doing what other people couldn't do, the phenomenal. And as he kept on, he was actually successful with some of his tricks, tipping the balls over other people's heads, doing some really incredible leg overs and things like that. It was incredible to watch, but he wasn't scoring as many goals. But as he grew older, he started to score more goals. And he realized he had to drop some of the flamboyance. But he was still doing a little bit of it. But then now he started to score goals. But one thing we realized was when he started to grow older, he realized that he needed to score goals to win awards. He now became very serious about winning awards and winning trophies and stuff, that he had to leave Manchester United to go to a place where he could win trophies. At this point, he was still in his 20s. Still had that energy to put his all into football. And he won awards. Oh man, did he win awards? He won awards. Golden Boots, Ballon d'Ors, trophies, La Liga trophies. He won awards. But when you look at Cristiano Ronaldo right now, he's more about energy conservation. He's more about energy conservation. He knows he can't do those flamboyant tricks anymore. Not that he can't, but he shouldn't. His energy should go towards other things, because in doing those flamboyant things, they could break his leg. He could break his leg. He knows he needs to be on his feet because he's now a father. He cannot be out of commission. He needs to be there for his children, to carry his sons and things like that. He cannot afford to break his leg. When he was a younger guy, he didn't even think of breaking his leg, even though he could break his leg. I'll break my leg, I'll come back. But now he realized that being out of commission as a player is being out of commission as a husband, being out of commission as a dad, being out of commission as a brand ambassador. It costs too much. So now he's less about flamboyant football. He's about energy conservation. And so you realize that right now he's playing box 18 football. Stays in the box, pass to me, I can tap it in. He realized he has more of a responsibility to inspire younger footballers. His energy has to go into that. So you see, he's not putting as much into doing things that will win him awards, personal awards. That's why he's playing in a country that he knows that he cannot win a Ballon d'Or playing in that country, but he doesn't care that much about that. Because now he knows how much effort he needs to put in football and have enough energy left over to do other things that are required of him at this age. That is a man who is aware. I say this to you because that time would come, and some of you would think your life is broken. Some of you would begin to feel like you should still be duking it out with 20-year-olds on social media space, getting likes and shares and being featured on blogs and winning creative awards. There's a time for that, and there's a time to let go of that and conserve your energy for more important things. A lot of people contact me and say, "Oh, Mr. Tola, I want to be doing what you're doing. I want to have a podcast too." But I'm saying, at what cost? Are you ready to be less of a designer so that you can put energy into podcasting? "Oh, Mr. Tola, I want to have a family like yours." At what cost? Are you ready to cut out time from this thing that you are building your esteem on, that is getting you awards, and share some of that energy across raising and running a family? Are you? Something has to give. Something must give. You are a young lady. Stop holding on to your 20-something-year-old body. It's okay for things to droop, for things to sag. It's okay to have some handles, especially when you've given birth to a child. Anybody that judges you on that is not wise. It's okay not to have time for parties. Even if you're a young man or a young lady, it's okay not to have time to hang out anymore. Your life is not derailing. You are energy conserving. It's okay not to be able to stay awake at night doing work. You have become lazy because you are energy conserving. You need to sleep at night to wake up in the morning to do things that are demanded of you as an older person. It's okay to reuse. Some of you, I'll talk to the ladies right now. Married women, you're beating up yourself because before you got married, you could cook like 5 meals in a day. You were experimenting with food and stuff like that. But now you see yourself microwaving, warming, and it almost seems to you like, oh, I'm not pouring myself out anymore. I'm not as loving as I used to be. Oh, I've become a slob. I used to mop every morning, mop everywhere, sweep and mop and dust. Now I don't do that as much anymore. I can see some cobwebs. It's all right. It's okay. The question is, that which is not going into sweeping the cobwebs, where is it going into? Don't judge yourself too harshly yet. Are you spreading yourself? And sometimes spreading yourself across your ever-expanding life would mean some things will not get detailed attention anymore. And sometimes it's a wise decision. It is not you dropping the ball on your life. It is you actually getting wiser. Wiser. Knowing what's important and what is not. Being less selfish. When I was 24, I was very selfish as a creative. It was about me. When I did a good logo for the clients, it was because I wanted younger designers or other designers to hail me. And when I wanted the company to win awards, I wanted them to win awards not for their business, but for my logo. I wanted to win awards. But now I now begin to understand that it's better to give this person their work than to wait and try to perfect it. Let them do their work and start the business. Does it suffice? Yes. Can I use an element I used before? Yes. Can I use the font I've been using for the past 6 months? Yes. I've used that font for 6 companies in 6 months. It's okay. Use that font. Does it work? Yes. Can they read the company name? Yes. Use it. Let them go. These companies might never meet themselves. It is that over glorification of, oh, if they put my portfolio together, can it win awards? Will they hail it? Will they see that all my fonts are the same? Is that self glorification? They were like, no, they will say my work isn't creative enough. But if you have tunneled vision on that company, you are like, if this company were the only company in the world, would this font work? Yes. I don't care about what I used for the other people last year. They have nothing to do with these people. Let's use this font for the brand name. Those things are more important, especially the older you get. That's why when you look at design history and prominent figures in design like Saul Bass, Paul Rand, Chemayoff, and Geismar, what you realize is look at their older work. It all looks almost the same. All of them, just look at the works they did when they were younger in their 20s. They just had different things. They were trying to experiment, do superb, groundbreaking, defining work. But look at their work 20 years later. You'd realize shapes are almost the same, fonts are almost the same, colors are almost the same, concepts are almost the same. Because at that time, they were thinking of energy conservation, not at being exceptional. You must understand that that time would come for every one of us. If that time has come for you, there's nothing wrong with your life. If that time hasn't come for you, please pour yourself into what you're doing right now. Pour yourself into it. Enjoy it. Be exceptional. Don't sleep. Don't eat. You understand? It's okay, to be honest with you. It doesn't have that much diminishing returns on some of you. It doesn't. I'm telling you, at your young age, doesn't. Go ahead. That time won't come back again. Pour yourself into it. That's why I say it's better for you to start early. Start in your teens. So you have a longer time to express yourself, win the awards, personal accolades, get featured. Because the time is coming that the Bible calls night, when no man can walk anymore. Then you have to be wiser about where you put your feet and how you use your energy. My name is Tola T.A. Alabi, and this is the TA Podcast.